As we continue to monitor storms here over the next few hours, you just want to stay weather aware. And right now, we do have a tornado warning on a storm that is moving to the north and east here. Eventually, it's going to be moving over Robertsonville. This is mainly for northern sections of Martin County here as we continue to track this storm. Here's the rotation setting up just to the north and east of Bethel. So where you see the brightest greens and the darker reds there, that is where we have that couplet of rotation. So if you're watching right now from Robertsonville, this storm is pretty much on top of you. You got about 4 minutes before the storm impacts you. It'll be passing right over Robertsonville here in just a few moments, followed by Everett at 5:31. Williamson by 5:47, and then eventually it'll be moving towards Jamesville here at around 6:09. So again, this has been a storm that has a history of, again, producing a lot of heavy rain and, of course, some lightning as well. And then we also have it looks like we have another tornado warning extending off towards the north, or actually, no, that is a severe thunderstorm warning, rather, extending all the way up into Bertie County. So as we take a little bit more closer look here on the storm that is over into northern sections of Martin County, there's a lot of intense lightning that is occurring with this storm, certainly right between highways 11 and 903. But this area in particular, just right in between Beargrass and Bethel, continues to show signs of rotation. We had a storm that was developing towards the south that unfortunately merged towards the north, and that's what caused that brief spin up. Again, anytime you get a little change in direction and wind speed, that is just enough to create enough spin in the atmosphere to sometimes produce a tornado. And so right now, we still got that tornado warning that continues for Martin County. Again, this is more so of a radar indicated tornado. So Doppler radar is detecting rotation, but we don't have any ground truth certainly at the surface. So again, this is getting ready to move right along highways 903 and the Highway 13 intersection right near Robertsonville. So again, this storm will be right on top of you in the next few minutes. So again, here's some of the more neighboring roads to look and concerned with. Claude Green Road there, it'll be moving right on top of you eventually, crossing 903, Highway 13, C.L. Keel Road there, and then Vanderford Road 2. And then if I step further off towards the north and east, eventually it'll be moving into the Robertsonville Products Road. So this is going to be missing right just to the north and west of the immediate town center. So that is some good news. It's going to be moving a little bit further away from the town center of Robertsonville, but then just to the south there, 903 Swamp Road 2 is just in the path of that heaviest rotation. So again, we're continuing to monitor the situation very closely as it continues to move off towards the north and the east. Eventually, it'll be moving towards Everett Road. And Zach, is there any other information on this storm as of right now?
Yeah, we've been watching this one pretty closely. We kind of hinted at you earlier we need to watch this one as it moved further north, kind of merged with this cell. And, this warning is going to be a while. We're going to be following this one for a while as it's warning until 5:45. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado over Robertsonville, 12 miles west of Williamston, moving east, still at 20 miles per hour. So, sometimes we get storms that just hang around and take their time versus 40, 50, 60 mile per hour movements, which is typically what we get. But this one, I can tell you, does have a little bit more of a concern and just more of a sign of a little bit of rotation. If I kind of switch radar sites here, you can see, depending on which one we use, it's all three are kind of showing signs of that trying to spin up a little bit. It's in a spot where it's in the middle of all three radar sites we use, whether that's from Raleigh, Southern Virginia, or Morehead City, Newport, really. So the fact that we're getting a decent little sign of a spin up is concerning. And even further to the north, it doesn't look quite as concerning when I move it outside of Hamilton, but you can kind of see down to the south, there's several areas where maybe we could get a quick spin up. So far, no confirmed tornadoes today. Looking at any damage indicators, debris tracker not really picking up on anything at the moment. So just continue to watch this. If you are in Williamston, especially Beargrass, looking at the track of this should stay north of you. This is going to basically follow Highways 13 and Highway 64, both the main 4-lane divided highway and the alternate, I guess the older Highway 64, the 2-lane road. This is going to continue to move east. So Everett's back over towards Williamston. Really need to pay attention to this storm as it moves to the east, only at 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, this is definitely a storm that continues to show a lot of rotation, Zach. We were keeping an eye on it over the past several minutes. Judging from how it's moving towards the north and east, it looks like it's going to be paralleling highways 13 and 64 here over the next several minutes. So once it begins to move past Robertsonville, eventually it'll stay again towards the north of Beargrass, but eventually be moving towards the Williamston community here over the next few minutes. So if you haven't done so already, this is the time now to get into that lowest level of your sturdy building, get into an interior room, a closet, bathroom, and you just want to just stay there until the storm continues to pass over your area. Again, this is a radar indicated tornado warning, meaning that Doppler radar continues to detect rotation, but we don't have any ground confirmation as of right now, but still this tornado warning continues until 5:45 p.m. for Martin County. And looking at the rotation, wind direction, and speed, looks like it has intensified just a little bit, Zach.
Yeah, I switched radars. I switched to the Morehead City radar. This may be about a few thousand feet up in the air, but Robertsonville and Everett's and any point east of Robertsonville on the main divided highway 64 needs to be in their tornado safe spot. Just trying to get a better look at this, and I do think the rotation's a little bit better up in the storm versus down at the surface where the tornado would be, but this thing has the look of a very dangerous storm and could be producing a tornado in really any minute. So, we always try to tell you to take cover. This is a little more heightened, a little more urgency with this warning. You really need to be in your tornado safe spot. From Robertsonville, it's right over your head, about to pass in the next few minutes. Everett's, you're next, and then eventually into Williamston, you're going to see that next storm roll in here within the next, I don't know, probably 30 minutes, maybe as soon as 20 minutes from now for Williamston. So be prepared to take shelter.
That's right. I mean, this is some pretty strong rotation, definitely further up in the storm. But again, with the system that's continuously beginning to intensify here, again, we're going to have, in addition to the tornado risk, we also have a lot of heavy rain, we have lightning, and also we have very strong winds at the surface, at least around 30 to 40 miles per hour. So there are additional threats with this system as well. But again, if you live basically right along certainly the Highway 13, Highway 64 corridor between Robertsonville and Williamson, you definitely want to get to the lowest level of a sturdy building. You want to just get into a bathroom, basically the most interior part. So basically a bathroom, a closet, that is the safest part of a home. You don't want to be in the living room or in the kitchen in a situation like this here. And again, there was other storms that we're continuing to keep an eye on, one in particular moving right through Bertie County, and then Hosky as well, seeing some heavy rainfall. That also has a tornado possible tag with it, which means that even though there is not a tornado warning with it, there are still some spots within the thunderstorm that continues to show signs of rotation as of right now. But again, the storm that we're most concerned about is further back towards the south and the west, moving into sections of Martin County as well. This tornado warning continues until 5:45 p.m. So again, if you're in Williamston, if you're in Everett, and if you are watching right now from basically that area, that location, certainly right along Highway 64. You definitely want to keep an eye on it. And Plymouth, too, even though you're not immediately in the tornado warning, we're going to just keep a close eye on it as it moves off towards the north and the east. It looks like the storm may miss you just to your north, but these storms can sometimes move a little bit towards the right as well. So if you're watching from Plymouth as well, you're not under the tornado warning right now, but I want you to start thinking about a plan just in case your location gets extended into it as of right now. So again, here's Storm Tracker on that 5:34. It'll be moving right over Everett, and then from there, Williamson around 5:51. And again, we got that strong rotation there beginning to move basically parallel right along Highway 64 and Highways 13. So Williamson in particular, I am most concerned as of right now, and Beargrass is moving basically towards your north and the west. Is there anything else going on right now with this storm, Zach?
National Weather Service hasn't said anything just yet. You know, we get a really good look at it from there. We switch to the Virginia radar site, and then we get the Raleigh radar site, and that's, not the least concerning. So I still think the rotation's stronger up in the storm than the surface, but it's close. It could produce fairly quickly. So I'm going to put a new track on this just because it's been a while since it's updated, but 20 miles an hour east, so that's going to probably get us to Jamesville as soon as probably 6:15. Woodard 6:24 if it holds together and moves further north. But again, Everett's, Williamston really need to be in your tornado safe spot for the next few minutes. Just let the storm pass. Don't go outside, try to see it. Probably if there's a tornado, kind of looking like maybe it's rain wrapped a little bit.
Right.
But I do think we're picking up on a lot of that rotation up in the storm, probably 5, 6, maybe close to 7,000 feet up in the air. But the tighter the rotation is aloft, the better chance we can get of maybe a quick spin up down at the surface as well. So if you're seeing anything, or you're driving down the road, or maybe you're back in Bethel, in fact, if we go to max 2, we can kind of pull up our pirate cam and try to see if we can see the back edge of that storm. So if we could take the pirate cam or max 2 full, kind of show you what the back edge of the storm is. This is overlooking downtown back towards Bethel. So I don't think we're going to be able to see the tornado itself if it's there. Notice as I pan right, continues to get a little bit darker and kind of continues to show. Or the visibility drops a little bit. We're not able to see as much. So we can see the storm. I'll zoom out a little bit so we can see the entire area down there. But we're not really able to see the core of the storm to where if there was a tornado, we'd definitively be able to say there's a tornado there with that. So we're going to continue to track this storm as it moves off to the east about 20 miles per hour. And we're going to see if this storm will hopefully weaken. That'd be great if we could get this storm to weaken a little bit more. Let's take max 2 on the wall. Notice storms continue to really just be across our northern counties, and kind of hinted at that earlier. We had the storms this morning, the clouds, the heavy rain. Not much in the way of severe weather. We did have a few severe thunderstorm warnings, but that really did not do much to stabilize the complete atmosphere. So far, it seems to have helped our southern counties and areas that have seen rain, but clearly we can get tornadoes today. We can get storms that have the threat for tornadoes today as this continues to move off to the east. And so hopefully this will fall apart, but right now a little concerned that it's not going to as it continues to get closer to Beargrass and the Williamston area. So Beargrass, you're close. You're not technically in the tornado warning, but I'm sure if you look north, if you're not covered up in rain, you can really see maybe some low clouds and probably a little bit of turbulence in the air where that storm is trying to rotate enough to produce a little bit of rotation. Now, again, not maybe too far. If we're hitting that storm at 5,000, 6,000 feet, it'd have to be a really strong tornado for us to get a debris signature, but just kind of want to check it in case that we're not missing anything. This warning continues for, 5:45, Russell? So another 20 minutes or so?
Yep, it does continue until 5:45. Latest update right now, as of 5:25, the storm was located right over Robertsonville or near Williamston, moving east at 35 miles per hour. So it'll be right near Williamston here within the next couple of minutes. And there's other locations too in the path. Parmalee, Everett, Hassel, also the Jamesville location, even Hamilton and Gold Points are also in the path of this tornado warning as well. So again,
and so those the bright colors, the signature that looks really strong is probably back in here. This is the mezzo. That's kind of the core of the storm. It's where the updraft is. It's where the storm, kind of the engine of this storm, and where this storm started out with all that warm, humid, rising air. If we're going to get a tornado, it's probably going to be back down here in the corner of this tornado warning versus kind of what's back towards, just west of Williamston. So Beargrass, it's close. I would be watching the storm very closely. You can see they just trimmed that severe thunderstorm warning. So you are under a severe thunderstorm warning, but you're not necessarily under a tornado warning. Though if you're on the north side, maybe you were briefly able to see that. Russell, I think you're controlling max 2 instead of max 1. So yeah, this is going to continue to drift very close to Williamston, very close to Beargrass as well. Let's see what the winds look like. See if we can move this around to get a different vantage point. So this is the Raleigh vantage point. Again, looking a little disorganized, and they're all at about 50 to 60 miles away from the radar site. I think the Raleigh site gives us a little bit better of a low-level angle, but notice we're still getting signs from both Moorhead and the Southern Virginia radar site that this storm is pretty dangerous. But, okay, so I'm going to put my hand right here, and then we're going to switch to radar. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. So this is kind of the core of the storm. So that's why I think we're seeing some very strong rotation within the storm. But the tornado is going to be probably either along Highway 64 or maybe just to the south of Highway 64, depending on how this storm's oriented. Sometimes they're straight up, sometimes they slant a little bit. I've seen a case, where we get tornadoes about a few miles away from where the rotation is showing up on radar. So definitely not discrediting that there's not a tornado threat with this. There is, but I do like that we have one radar site that's shown a little more optimistic that there's nothing on the ground right now. Has there been any reports or anything to the National Weather Service, Russell, about maybe any sightings from law enforcement or any viewers or anybody who can get an eye on this? Maybe people in Bethel down towards Pactolus may be able to get an eye on this if there was a tornado on the ground.
As of right now, we still have no reports coming in from the National Weather Service. This storm still continues to be radar indicated rotation, but again, you know, with the amount of rotation that's been going on, certainly off the ground within the system, at least at the surface, is not quite as intense. Let's hope that trend continues here over the next few minutes. But again, we still have the severe thunderstorm warning continuing until 5:45 p.m. for Martin County as of right now.
You can see it right back here towards the county line. It is trying to tighten up a little bit. This is going to be the meso, so the middle part of the storm, where you start to get that really strong updraft. Before you get a tornado, you've got to get the storm to actually rotate first, and then that translates to rotation down closer to the ground. So we've got the storm rotating itself. I just don't think we're quite to the point where that rotation's all the way to the surface. But stay in your tornado safe spot because it can happen very, very quickly. Williamston area, Jamesville as well, more so Williamston and areas east of Bethel and Robertsonville. In fact, Robertsonville, I think we can kind of give you the all clear, maybe a few more minutes. Let it get a little bit further to the east. Russell, I don't know if you can zoom down closer. I think I can do it. There we go. It's working. All right. So Everett's, yeah. So Robertsonville, I think you're good. I think that threat is still some rain across the area, across your city, but I think the worst of it's now to your east. Everett's, you're kind of under the gun right now. There's the old Highway 64, 2-lane road. This is the 4-lane road, and then kind of cross path right there at Everett's. And this is going to continue into Williamston itself. So Williamston, Everett's, anywhere in between. We've got plenty of roads, plenty of houses, plenty of communities there in between Williamston and Everett. So make sure you are taking shelter. If you know somebody driving back from maybe the beach or maybe Raleigh or Norfolk or up towards Richmond, call them and let them know, especially if they're coming in from the northeast or the east or southeast, to maybe hold back a little bit and let this storm pass. We're not missing any other warnings, are we, Russell?
We're not missing any warnings as of right now. The severe thunderstorm warning is still in effect until for the next few minutes for at least Williamston as well, and this will be moving over into Robertsonville, also Jamesville here over the next few minutes. So in addition to the severe thunderstorm warning, again, we still have the tornado warning continuing until 5:45 for central Martin County. We still have no reports as of right now on this as it continues to move off towards the north and east here at about 35 miles per hour.
Yeah, and if we're not talking about you, we're not ignoring you. I know we're all under a tornado watch, but notice that all our activity is along or north of Highway 64. So far, the rain and clouds we had is holding strong, but we are seeing signs of maybe a few more clouds back off to the southwest. And do have that shower still north of New Bern. Has not been severe. That's why we've not been talking about it a whole lot. We know it's there, but doesn't look like it's going to be producing any severe weather anytime soon. Then we also have some more showers. Wilson, Rocky Mount, Halifax County, that's already been hit pretty hard with some storms. So we know all this stuff is happening. We're keeping an eye on it. But in situations like these, we always tend to really focus in on where the biggest threat is. So if we're not saying your town name, there's a reason you're okay in most instances, especially this one where we're really just watching one storm for a tornado threat and just a couple counties for a high wind threat as well. And hopefully it doesn't look quite as tornadic, doesn't have that tornado shape that we kind of look for. Still looking like it's, that rotation's definitely up in the storm, but I still don't know if it's down to the surface. And even now looking at all the other radar sites, that's Virginia. This is going to be the Newport radar site. Still looking disorganized, and maybe that rotation even a little bit more disorganized than it was earlier when we were kind of more concerned about it. But again, if we're going to have low-level rotation, it's going to be kind of on the back side of this, just north of Beargrass. So told you, Beargrass, it's going to be a close call. Definitely keep an eye on it, even though you're not in that tornado warning. But I think it would be just north of you if we did get any type of confirmed tornado or actual tornado. But back here is definitely where, if you look up in Williamston, it's probably raining really hard, so you probably don't have the great visibility, but you would definitely see the clouds swirling a little bit, kind of rotating within the storm. That's where that rotation starts, and then on days where we get tornadoes, that rotation translates down to the ground at some point. So far, I don't think we've seen it happen at the ground, but still watching an area just to the west of Beargrass. I'm going to zoom in on that one, see if we can point out any roads that.
Some of the neighborhoods that are in the path of this storm right now near Williamson, the Woodland Acres neighborhood here, Washington Street there, right there along the business route of Highway 17, and then eventually it'll be moving into, looks like this area of rotation is almost close to the Martin General Hospital right now. So that's where the rotation is located at currently.
So here's 901. If you're west of 901, you're in the clear. They've been trimming this tornado warning, doing a good job of keeping up with it to kind of signal the all clear. And new scan there, and that looks even better for hopefully no tornado. But Prison Camp Road, that area, back down towards Everett's Road, Beargrass, just north of you by maybe a mile and a half. So hopefully over the next few minutes, we will be able to signal the all clear. This warning has about, what, 9 minutes left, 5:45, it's 5:36. So we're doing okay, but Williamston needs you in your tornado safe spot. Just don't assume that this is not going to produce anything as it moves further to the east. So that warning is cut off at the county line. So we will see, and it looks like, did they issue a new warning or severe thunderstorm warning for it?
Not as of right now. We still have the severe thunderstorm warning continuing until 6 p.m. For Beaufort, Martin, and Pitt counties. Haven't seen anything yet from the National Weather Service.
So this warning back towards Plymouth, north of Plymouth, was already there?
Yep.
Okay, I thought I saw 2 warnings there. So I didn't know if they had changed that to a tornado or to a severe thunderstorm warning, but still, Williamston, you're not in the clear yet. Storm looking a little more disorganized, not looking quite as, the things we look for tornadoes. You can still get tornadoes out of storms that don't look like they're going to produce it, but it does look a little more ragged than it did earlier, which is good news. And we're hoping this continues for the Williamston area because that's where that thread is heading pretty clear. You can still see we've got rotation within the storm itself. So I don't want you out of your tornado spot if you're in Williamston. Beargrass, again, you're okay. I think any tornado would be kind of down here. And here's kind of that parent rotation within the storm itself. So that's going to be right over Williamston. The rotating storm itself. Notice those colors right over Williamston. If we go back to radar. So yeah, that rotation's right in here. And even, the storm's kind of getting cut off a little bit. So may get some strong winds on the backside right through there to the west of Williamston. So Williamston, stay over your tornado safe spot. Everett's, give it a few more minutes. I think you'll be in the clear. But this storm still showing signs of rotation, and we have not had any damage reports from it just yet. In fact, hoping that stays the case as this continues to move off to the east. So I know you're not in a tornado warning on the other side of the county line, but if you're just outside of Williamston, I would be in your tornado safe spot just in case this tightens up anymore. It can happen quick. It can take its time to tighten up. It's really hard to tell you when exactly something's going to produce a tornado, but if you're not under a tornado warning, but you are east of Williamston, northeast of Williamston on Highway 13, I would be in my tornado safe spot just in case. Same thing for Jamesville. I would be getting ready to get into the lowest floor, interior room, closet, bathroom, somewhere that does not have windows. You do not want to be near windows when there are high winds, whether they're straight line winds or tornadic winds. That's usually where we see the worst damage is those outside rooms, especially with windows, because that allows the winds to get in. They break the glass. They can throw debris through the glass. And once the wind is able to get within your home or apartment, that's when we see that really bad damage happen. Garage is not safe, so make sure you are in a hallway, bathroom, closet, just somewhere you can take shelter, cover your head, wear helmets, put some shoes on. Hopefully there's no damage, but if there is some damage, you don't want to be barefoot after a tornado moves through. So to make sure you're prepared for right now and then also what comes after this tornado warning if there is any damage. And if there's no damage, which we're hoping that's the case, then you can just go back to what you were doing before the tornado warning was issued. Is that a little bit of rotation near Beargrass, Russell? Am I seeing things right there?
Yeah, I see that small area of rotation near Beargrass.
I can't tell if it's just radar being radar or if that's something.
There was a little bit of a notch on, if you was looking at the original radar there was like a small little notch there right over Beargrass. But again, the rotation is more so confined just northeast of Beargrass as of right now.
Yeah, if you're south of Williamston and you're in that tornado warning, it's right on the border of it, north of Beargrass, headed towards Highway 17. That may not be anything, but I don't like it. So I really would like you to be in your tornado safe spot. Whether you're southeast, northeast of Williamston, just make sure you're taking cover right now because on days like today, we've got some ingredients for tornadoes, but it's not one of those days where if we get a tornado, it's going to just be really evident. We're going to be able to tell right away that there's a tornado. So let's check debris. I think we're too far away to get anything. We'll loop it to see if we've missed anything as it was moving through. So we're not seeing any of the colors. We're seeing all this purple. We are seeing a little bit of, not really interference, but different shades of colors to the north. So this is all rain. I just don't see anything. It's going to be a dark blue ball, dark green ball on the screen that kind of shows us that suddenly there's a big batch of debris in the air. So new severe thunderstorm warning just issued, tornado possible tags. So as we get closer to the end of this warning, 3 minutes away now.
Yep. And this severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until 6:45 p.m. So this includes all of southeastern Martin County, Washington County, and northwestern Terrell County until 6:45. And the main concern is 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail.
Yeah, so this is the tail end of this storm. So still that updraft is right over Williamston. I tell you, the more I look at this, I just, there's that. This would be the rotation within the storm. There's still a little something between Beargrass and Williamston.
Yeah, it's looking like it's starting to, there's a secondary circulation trying to develop just towards the south here. I'm just going to keep a closer eye on it here, but right now, again, I don't see anything from the National Weather Service as of right now. I don't know if they're going to extend the warning or not, but right now, at least they have the severe thunderstorm warning with the tornado possible tag.
So new scans just came in. I still think there's a little bit of rotation down here, and this would likely be where we would get a tornado if it pops up. So it's right over Highway 17. And again, with radar, it's a snapshot. We're taking a picture every few minutes, and then the storm's still moving. It's not waiting around for the next time the radar scans that same level. So a radar scans all the way through the atmosphere as much as it can. So we just got one scan. It's now scanning other portions of the atmosphere so we can get a 3D look at this storm. But down to the south on Highway 17, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of rotation now tracking eastward back towards Highway 64. And we still have, I think I just messed that up. Not really. Thought we were going to zoom in really close. But I do think, we have this area. That's the parent rotation with this storm. But I do think there's just something we need to watch back down towards Highway 17. So we'll see what they do with this. 1 more minute till this tornado warning expires. Since that severe thunderstorm warning has been issued, it seems like this.
We got a new tornado warning now.
Did they?
They've extended it, it looks like, for eastern Martin County, and this does now extend as well towards the east as well. Let's see, we have that tornado warning. This is in effect until 6:15, so this includes southeastern Martin County and also Washington County as well. So at 5:43, the storm was located right over Williamston, moving east at 55 miles per hour. It will be near the Plymouth and Henson communities around 5:55. Other locations in the path of the storm includes Dardens, also Smithwick, Jamesville, and Roper as well.
Okay, yeah, that's a good call. I like that call from the National Weather Service because you're seeing those areas of rotation just hang around, and the more they hang around, they might be able to get their act together and kind of start to be more organized. So we're going to reset here. We're going to draw this whole area so we can get a better idea of where this is headed. So again, your storm's up here, your rotation's going to be down here now south of Williamston. And I tweeted earlier, not many people use Twitter anymore, but that's kind of where we're able to be a little more nerdy about weather and kind of things we're noticing, because you can see those updates a little bit. Facebook, we try to update on there, but you can see an update from Facebook 5 days after it was posted, which isn't very helpful when we're in active weather like this. But, this area, the winds had shifted. After we had that rain earlier this morning, the winds shifted to the southeast. And when you look for tornadoes, that southeast wind, that's that inflow that's able to get into the storm a little bit easier and kind of give that storm a little bit of a kick and let it tighten up or rotate a little bit better than if your winds were due south or southwest, where you would probably not get a whole lot of rotation. So it's getting into a better environment, I think.
Zach, I'm looking at some of the roads that are in the path of this. This is getting ready to move right into the Holly Springs Church Road. JT Heath Road is in the path of this storm. So if I'm reading out your community, and you live on these roads here, you want to get into that safe space. You want to get into that interior room, closet, certainly away from windows in this type of situation. These are the type of storms, again, one circulation can weaken and then another one can build back on the southern part of the storm here. And then eventually, again, this is going to be moving towards Jamesville. So if you're in Jamesville watching this storm right now, you should be getting to that safe space as well. It looks like this area of circulation will be just to your south and not moving towards the north and east here within the next few minutes.
Yeah, and you can see kind of two areas. Still seeing maybe some quick spin-ups along Highway 17, Danpill Road, back towards Tall Timbers. That area, there could be some really quick spin-ups happening right through here. Don't want to discount that. We're not going to be able to see it very well on velocity. We may just get kind of this glimpse where these reds are a little bit brighter, matching up with a little bit brighter greens. That may be where we're getting some quick spin-ups. But we also have that main area of rotation back up towards Highway 64, now east of Williamston, kind of on the outside edge of Williamston as you're leaving town. This is going to move back over Highway 64. Jamesville, you're next up. So Williamston, threat is trending down for you. Not going to sound the all clear because of people who still live on the south side of the bypass, east side of the bypass, but the threat is starting to move away. Beargrass, you're okay as well, but Jamesville, you're next in line to see this tornado-warned storm head your direction. There are some chasers out today. Let me see. I'm going to go grab my phone and see if anybody has texted me or see if I can find any reports. So, Russell, why don't you take over for a second?
Okay.
Put a new track over there. You can, if we switch to, you can either use Max 2 or Max 1, but I'm going to let you drive for a second and kind of show us where this is headed, put a storm track on it, tell us the time for this warning again, and I'm going to go see if I can find maybe some reports from any chasers throughout today. A lot of North Carolina State students went chasing today. A few people who live in different parts of the state that I follow on Twitter, they kind of showed interest in today's setup if storms were to develop, and we'll see if they actually went out and headed out to see if they could storm spot anything. But again, 64 down to Highway 17, south side, east side of the bypass, really kind of south side. That's where maybe we're getting a few quick spin-ups. So if we can switch to Max 1, take Max 1 full. Russell's going to talk over and work over there from the computer.
Yeah, as of right now, Zach, I put a new storm tracker out on this. It's going to be moving right over Jamesville here within the next few minutes. Around 5:53 is where the storm is going to be. Eventually 6:03, it'll be moving into Plymouth, and then around roughly 6:11, it'll be moving into Roper as well. So again, we still have a lot of strong rotation with it. The brighter the colors, the stronger the winds with this particular system. I want to zoom in a little bit closer and just look at some of the roads that are in the path of this as of right now here as it's continuing to move off. So eventually it's going to be moving towards Mill Road here within the next few minutes, and then moving right across Highway 171 and then meeting up very close to Highway 64 as of right now. So again, here's our storm tracker on this Plymouth, and then Skinnersville. It might miss you just towards the south, but again, if you know anyone that's getting ready to travel basically right on Highway 64 or Highway 32 or Highway 171, just want to let them know that, hey, this storm is heading their way here over the next next few minutes. But this has been a system that's been fairly consistent with rotation here over the next several minutes, over the last several minutes rather, as it continues to move off here. And I still don't see anything yet from the National Weather Service. So again, this is still radar indicated as well. I'm going to go ahead and put out a new storm tracker on this here just so I can give you the updated times respectively. But again, with a storm that has a history of producing a strong rotation, the way these tornadoes, these storms are, is that even though you may not have a storm producing a tornado right now, as of at the moment, one can form at any time, especially with this very strong mid-level rotation. So this storm is still moving to the east here at around 55 miles per hour. And so it's going to be moving right over Jamesville around 5:56, Plymouth around 6:06. Then it's going to be moving towards the Roper neighborhood around 6:14 local time. So again, the areas with the strongest rotation is right there just to the south and west of Plymouth. I would say right in between Highway 64 and Highway 171. And right where that rotation is, eventually it's going to be moving right over Fairview Church Road. So if you know anyone that lives right in that location, you should be at this point in your shelter. Don't even bother to go outside to try to find out where this storm is, because there's a lot of heavy downpours. And of course, the lightning is pretty intense too at times with this. Eventually it's going to be crossing 171 here, and then eventually moving right across the Bucks Lane road here, and then eventually moving towards the north and the east. So again, if you know anyone that lives right along Fairview Church Road, or if you live along Tar Landing Road, this is where that tornadic circulation will be at here over the next few minutes. Eventually, this storm will be moving towards the Mill Next Road, and then eventually Mill Road, just right along or parallel of 64. So Highway 64 points towards the south. Those are the areas that are in the path of this tornado, or this radar indicated tornado. And let's see, we're going to take a moment here and switch over to our base velocity. I just want to see at least the storm's intense right now. And we got a lot of heavy rain currently being produced here. But in case you're wondering where the tornadic circulation is, where that notch is, it is basically right over, just to the south and west of Highway 64. So basically right over Jamesville, or to the south and west of Jamesville as I speak here. So it's basically right over Tar Landing Road. So again, Jamesville, right along Highway 171 towards the south. Those are the locations that's going to be in the path of this. Plymouth right now is still towards your south, but given how this storm will continue to move north and eastward at times. Again, this is one of those situations where even if you're in Plymouth, you still want to take this storm very seriously as well, and then eventually towards Skinnersville here over the next few minutes. So again, this is a storm moving very quickly off towards the north and the east as of right now. Zach, is there any information that you've gotten so far? Any storm chasers reporting anything as of right now?
Most chasers, they're still out there, but I've not seen anything to give me an idea. Jack Kendrick, I think he graduates next year from NC State. He found some trees down on Highway 97 west of Hobgood. Not really with that storm. That would have been the storms earlier that did a little bit of maybe some wind damage as the storm was moving east and kind of still organizing. So that was more towards the Scotland Neck area with the earlier storm. So have not seen any reports, and I think I would have seen something if we had a tornado or anything like that. So stay in your safe spot in Jamesville, and we will continue to track this as it continues to move east. And you said this warning goes until 6:30?
Yep, this warning goes until 6:15.
6:15. All right. So we will continue to see if this will move a little bit closer and further east and hopefully just spin out. But I don't like that it's at the tail end. Usually when these storm systems line up, these storm cells line up, the southern edge of that line is where you can get that tornado threat still to be pretty high. It doesn't have any rain or rain-cooled air blocking the inflow for this storm to spin up a little bit. So unfortunately, we may be dealing with this rotation kind of dying off, pulsing back up over the next hour and a half before it starts to maybe get out closer to open water. Probably longer than that. So I think we may be tracking this one for a while as it continues to move off to the east. If we go back to max 2, I'm going to show you where all that heavy rain is. And this continues to move further east. So Williamston, we can give you the all clear. Your tornado is going to be somewhere down in here. If we switch to the winds, You can see that a little bit better right through there. So yeah, Williamston, you're good. Still have a little bit of maybe some strong breezy winds. Can't rule out a quick spin up back down there. But your main area is going to be back kind of just now southwest of Jamesville. So if you drive to the Outer Banks, if you drive to Kitty Hawk or over towards where you get on Highway 12 to head down towards Hatteras, usually you take this road if you're coming from Pitt County or maybe even Washington. Instead of going all the way up to Highway 64, you kind of cut off there and head east and come up into Jamesville, and then you get on Highway 64 as you head towards the Outer Banks. That's kind of where we're watching right now. It's Highway 171 north of Manning Road. Mills Road area needs to be watching this very closely. Jones Road on the edge of it, and of course Highway 64. And again, this is moving with Highway 64. We've been tracking it, and it has been pretty much on course parallel with Highway 64 for a while. So this is going to continue to be something we're going to be watching probably over at least the next hour, as I just don't think this is going to weaken that much. Notice when I go to radar, notice how all this air to the south is dry. There's a little bit of a shower, but the storm is still by itself, even though it's connected to a longer line of storms and heavy rain. So all this area right here is still warm, humid air that this storm can kind of tap into and try to rotate a little bit. So if you're north of Highway 64, don't think we have a concern right now. Definitely some heavy rain, lightning. Don't see any hail concerns either. But overall, this threat may hang out around Highway 64 for a while. We're going to reset here, kind of show everybody what's going on if you're just joining us, or maybe you got the push notification on your phone that we're tracking tornado warnings. It's just this storm, and it extends all the way up to the state line. So Edenton, you're not in a tornado threat really right now, but you've got a storm bearing down on you. But I just want everyone to know that we're not ignoring other storms elsewhere. You can see radar's clean sweep all the way down to New Bern, Jacksonville, all of us in tornado watch until 11 p.m. But we're still seeing most of the areas that saw rain and cloud cover this morning stay a little more stable, a little bit more clear on radar versus other areas. It kind of makes sense. The better forcing was a little bit further north. This is kind of where we thought if storms redeveloped, we would have a better chance of seeing what we're seeing. And notice these storms go all the way up into Virginia as well, with just a few isolated storms here or there. So definitely not a day where everybody gets a storm. If you saw some rain this morning, that may be it for the rest of the day, but just can't rule it out. And I do think they'll start to trim back this watch a little bit as we go over the next few hours. So let's zoom down into this entire line so we can kind of show you just kind of what we're tracking. So Edenton, tornado warnings due south, still in a severe thunderstorm warning. See if we can center it a little bit better. There we go. Switch to winds. Notice you can clearly see the area we're watching. It's down to the south. Meanwhile, breezy winds, you're going to notice the heavy rain, the lightning, and those storms moving in, but just not quite as intimidating to the north as the brighter colors still there to the south of Williamston. And there's that cell that's coming in from Washington, so we'll watch it. It looks like it's a little bit too far back, but sometimes, switch to radar so you can see what I'm talking about. Well, Russell, there you go. This cell right here is trying to get pushed up into the storm. If it was a little bit further east, kind of more towards Highway 32, you can get these cells to get ingested in these supercells and start to rotate, kind of almost like you pour something in your gasoline as you put in your car, and it kind of gives it a little bit better of a kick and the engine runs a little bit better. So I'm happy that shower is a little bit too out of position for that to happen, but definitely something we're going to have to watch as we see this storm continue to push off towards the east. So another, 15 minutes with this warning, Russell?
That's right, another 15 minutes as well. We still have that tornado warning continuing. So I haven't received any other reports yet from the National Weather Service, but Zach, I was looking at the rotation and the storm, and it looks like the rotation is building more so further south and eastward. So it looks like Plymouth, it might pass just towards the south of Plymouth, looking at at it right now from the wind direction and speed. But still, again, you're still in the path of the storm. Around 6:09, it'll be either near Plymouth or just to the south of Plymouth.
Yeah.
6:17, Roper, 6:23, Skinnersville, and then Columbia around 6:39.
I think they're going to get some wind. All this bright green here, not really rotating. It's kind of tied back to some of the other rotation on the backside of this, but definitely going to get some strong winds pushing into the Plymouth area. So still stay away from windows. Those winds probably a little bit closer to at least 50 miles per hour, maybe close to 60 miles per hour as they push in. But like you said, Russell, yeah, let's put this in motion, see if we can pinpoint where any of that rotation may be a little bit stronger. It's almost looking like now maybe more of a straight line wind threat with maybe just a few areas on this leading edge we need to watch. Maybe trying to reorganize a little bit where this is kind of the main part of the storm, and then back down to the south, maybe we'll see rotation try to strengthen there east of Highway 171. Tornado warning goes for 15 more minutes, 14 more minutes technically, so we're going to stay here watching it.
We did get a few reports that just came in, a local storm report. We did have a large tree down in Hamilton around, that happened around 5:10, and then around 5:40, there was a large tree down in Williamston, and this was from the fire department and rescue.
Okay, so still enough wind to push a tree down in Williamston. So whether that was tornadic or not, we're not going to know until a survey's done, and if they decide to do a survey. But it is going to give us a better idea of what we're watching over the next few minutes. And does show us that, Williamston, even though you weren't in the downward, that rotation was a little bit stronger, you still had enough winds to get a tree down. I really think, right along Highway 64, south of Highway 64, looks like it may be cycling a little bit, getting interfered with that shower coming in. Not so much to enhance the rotation, but enough to where maybe this becomes more of a straight line wind threat, and we may be able to cancel this tornado warning earlier. But I don't think we're done with this storm. I think it's going to be one we're going to be watching until it either gets into an environment that not very good for severe weather, which they had some rain at the Outer Banks earlier this morning, some cloud cover. Maybe there's a little bit of a area where the storm may not be able to be as severe, but right now still showing signs that at least some strong winds are coming out of this storm.
That's right. We still have the tornado warning continuing until 6:15. This is as of 6:01. The storm capable of producing a tornado was located right over Henson, or 8 miles southwest of Plymouth, moving east at 35 miles an hour. So it'll be basically right near the Plymouth around 6:05, and then Roper around 6:25 p.m. So they're still continuing the warning, the tornado warning, until 6:15 from the National Weather Service.
You can see a little bit of rotation near Plymouth. You can also see maybe a little bit of rotation near Jamesville still. They trimmed that tornado warning a little bit. But just because we have rotation up in the storm doesn't mean we have rotation down at the surface. It's just really hard to tell the difference sometimes. So that's why Jamesville, you're still under that tornado warning. Plymouth, you're also under a tornado warning for about 12 more minutes. And then hopefully we can go back to the news and go back to regular programming and not have any more tornado warnings. So that'd be great, as these storms are now pushing far enough east to where to the north, we've got Edenton seeing some heavy rain, lightning, probably some breezy winds, but don't know if they're severe winds. And then the tornado threat and the wind threat continues to look highest from Plymouth back towards Jamesville, where we have the only active tornado warning. Have they trimmed back anybody from the watch yet, Russell? It goes till 11, so I think it's a little too early for them to have done that. But
as of right now, we still have the tornado watch continuing for all of eastern North Carolina. Haven't seen any updates yet. But again, that one storm that we're continuing to watch near Plymouth still has rotation with it. National Weather Service continuing to have the tornado warning until 6:15. But also just towards the east of that, we still have a severe thunderstorm warning as well, extending into portions of Washington County and Terrell County as well. That's going to continue at least until 6:45. So even if a tornado develops or not, we're still dealing with very strong winds. We're dealing with heavy rainfall, lightning, and lightning. Even some hail is a possibility. So there are other threats as well, in addition to the tornado threat that we are currently tracking with this storm. So again, if you're watching right now from Plymouth, if you're watching from Skinnersville, especially just to the south and east, if you're traveling right there along highways 32, if you live in the vicinity of these locations, if you still want to just remain indoors until this storm continues to pass, because there are a lot of strong winds with this storm as well.
Yeah.
Again,
You can see the inflow really good from Plymouth down Old Robertson Road, or Old Roper Road, excuse me, down towards Island Road as well, Highway 32. All this green and yellow, which now we get a new radar scan, but this is where the winds are trying to sneak into the storm and where that rotation is trying to happen. So you have winds moving probably more northwest to southeast there on the south side of Plymouth, and then on the east side and northeast side, you have winds that are probably going into the storm. So crossing Highway 45, Highway 64 from the southeast, and that's where you get that wrap to happen right around the city of Plymouth. And let's check the newest scan. We got a new scan of radar, so we'll see if the winds look a little bit different as well. So still seeing it in there. So the red are going towards the radar, I believe, away from the radar. So we're using the Moorhead site. Winds towards the radar are green. So here's where your rotation is going to be. It still looks broad, but we are, about 70-ish miles, 65 miles away from the radar site. So decent radar coverage. It's showing us that there's rotation in the storm, but it's going to be hard to tell unless this really strengthens that anything's happening at the surface. So we've already had a tree down in Williamston, probably having winds strong enough to knock maybe a tree or two down in Plymouth as well. New scan just came in again, looking a little less organized. Wouldn't you agree, Russell?
I certainly agree. There's more rotation further up from the Virginia radar, basically further up in the atmosphere compared to at the lower level. So the good news is the lower level rotation, not quite as strong, very disorganized, but a little bit more stronger further up in the middle part of the storm.
And south of Jamesville, we'll watch this. You notice the shower looking a little bit healthier. It's almost like they're trying to combine a little bit on the tail end of this. So maybe it wasn't as far out of position as I said earlier. We'll watch and see if any new rotation can start right in here. But again, that main rotation was more towards Jamesville and Plymouth area. So here you can still have a little bit of rotation, but we'll watch on the backside of this if we get another kind of secondary area of rotation to develop. Since this is weakening a little bit, it may be reorganizing enough. You can see the stronger winds coming in from the southwest as well. This may be where we start to get another area of rotation. You notice it jumps. And that's the one thing about these storms and supercells. I just got back from chasing in the plains and had a storm very similar to this, to where you'd be looking at one part of the storm and then you'd check radar again, or you'd look to your left and you'd see, oh, this is organizing a little bit better than the area I was watching. So that's just how it goes with these storms. They anywhere you have that hot, humid air still, but where the rain-cooled air isn't, you're still able to get that storm to try to intensify a little bit. And maybe be the stronger part of the storm. So, yeah, looking a little bit weaker for Plymouth. Still think there's broad enough rotation where this tornado warning is going to continue until 6:15. And then this other area of maybe what's trying to turn into rotation as this next little shower gets ingested into the storm a little bit at the tail end of this main supercell, Jamesville area southward. I think this is an area we'll have to watch as well.
And it seems like that's been the story with this supercell thunderstorm all the way back from when it was over Bethel, is like we will get a shower that's coming in from the south, and then once it intersects the main storm, that little area of wind direction change is enough to create some spin up in the storm. And it looks like the same thing's trying to happen right now. But as of right now, again, the rotation is a little bit messy, but again, we're still getting some very strong winds here, at least 35, 40 miles per hour winds at the surface, even a little bit stronger.
And Edenton, we're not forgetting about you, but notice there's really no signs of rotation over you. So that's why we're focused more on that southern part of that storm. But you're still going to get some heavy rain, some breezy winds, maybe some wind gusts close to 50 miles per hour. It doesn't look like 60, but we could see these storms try to weaken, or the winds try to strengthen a little bit. as these storms push off to the east, especially as it gets closer to water, maybe those winds become a little bit stronger. So Edenton, yes, very stormy, but does not look like you have a tornado threat right now. And the wind threat, it's windy, but I don't think you'd have anything other than maybe some limbs down or the power blinking a little bit. I don't think it's going to knock out your power right now just based on wind alone. So tornado warning goes for, 6 more minutes?
Yep, for a few more minutes. It'll expire at 6:15. We haven't seen any other updates yet from the tornado warning, but the severe thunderstorm warning at least continues until 6:45. And main risk again is 60-mile-per-hour damaging winds and quarter-size hail as it continues to move off towards the east here at about 30 to 40 miles per hour.
Yeah, and so that first area we were tracking now south of Skinnersville, still right along Highway 64, more on the south side of Highway 64, intersection of Highway 32. But like me and Russell have been talking about, we'll have to watch what this shower does on the back half of this, because getting some signs the winds are picking up, getting a little bit of signs of maybe some rotation trying to develop back down southwest of Janesville. Notice they have not trimmed back that warning just yet. So I think the National Weather Service is watching that area as well to make sure they don't cancel the warning earlier and then this becomes the main problem with the storm. But definitely some rotation there south of Janesville on Highway 171. Russell, do you see signs of storms developing anywhere else? Do you see, I don't know if you can check visible satellite, especially in counties that probably have been very sunny since the tornado watch was issued.
I mean, in areas where it has been fairly quiet, I mean, it's just been very warm, very hot. We had dew points well into the 70s. I'm looking at the visible satellite right now. There's not really much showing up. I mean, there's a few puffy cumulus clouds over southern parts of Pitt County right now, but in terms of actual radar, it's fairly quiet right now.
I'm hoping that stays the case. And once we got to about lunchtime, that's kind of what the high-res data was picking up on. It wasn't enough to where we could just give the all clear for everyone, and obviously the tornado watches for everyone, but the northern counties along and north of Highway 64 seemed like they had the better chance of more redevelopment because they missed out on some of the cloud cover and the rain and storms we had earlier in the day. That's why we highlight these days in advance, but sometimes it comes down to what's happening 4 hours before this main round's expected to develop, because it all plays a part. If you have clouds or rain earlier in the day, that can really kind of throw off the severe weather setup, which is great news, but just makes it a little bit harder for us to communicate that to everybody, especially on a holiday weekend where some people may not be paying as much attention to the forecast.
Also, we have a tornado warning continuing. It's been extended now until 6:45. This includes Washington County and northwestern Terrell County in eastern North Carolina. So the National Weather Service is still going to continue to issue tornado warnings with this system as it moves further.
Is this the same tornado? No, okay, I see it. So here's the border of the old warning, and then all of this is the new warning, all the way back towards Gum Neck and back towards the out. So Columbia, you're now under a tornado warning. Cresswell, you're now under a tornado warning. Phelps Lake area, at least the majority of it, now under a new tornado warning, including the old tornado warning that cuts off just west of Cresswell. So clearly this is still an environment where we're going to have to watch the rotation of this pretty closely. You kind of still see, maybe a little bit of rotation there south of Skinnersville trying to develop, very broad. Don't think it's strengthened any more than what we've had so far today, but also going to have to watch a little bit of rotation, just something to note. I'm not concerned about it right now, but just something to note to make sure we don't take the camera too far east and then something redevelops on the backside. If we go to radar, you can kind of see, this storm is looking a little bit better now south of Jamesville. If I put this on a loop, you can see what happened. So really, I thought it would be too far out of position, but it's latched on to this storm. So basically, you had a little shower near Old Ford, and that exploded up into a new updraft, a little bit stronger of a storm, and now they've kind of paired together a little bit and trying to rotate again. So we're going to have to watch this area as well as the original storm, which is now still over Plymouth, but the area where maybe there'd be another area of rotation a little bit ahead of Plymouth, south of Skinnersville. So that's why the National Weather Service has kept the tornado warning going and issued a new tornado warning. So we're going to be on here a little bit longer tracking this, though right now it continues to look like east of Plymouth, south of Jamesville, maybe the most concerning spot for this storm.
It'll be right over Phelps Lake around 6:15. So basically within the next minute is right on top. It'll be near the Woodley community around
Yeah, if we go
6:20.
to max 1, we'll let Russell time it out a little bit. Russell, you see that? Hold on, let's stay on max 2. Right over Highway 171.
Yeah, there's another area of rotation starting to develop.
That's the one we've been watching trying to develop. That's the one I think I'm a little more concerned about now.
Yeah, it's looking like we're getting a situation, Zach, where we're getting these storms starting to back build and develop another area of circulation. They can happen in environments like this right now, and I haven't seen anything yet from the National Weather Service on that, but don't be surprised for those of you that are watching right now in eastern Martin County, certainly just north and east of Old Fort. Don't be surprised if a warning is issued here in the next few minutes or so. But
this is really hard for the National Weather Service to warn, because they already have the tornado warning to the north, but as they back build and you get a new area develops, kind of have to make that decision. Do we issue a new tornado warning for some of the same areas, or do we hope this holds off and moves into the next tornado warning? So I'm sure they're trying to make that decision right now, and we'll continue to watch and see what they decide to do with that area of rotation. But definitely think that area is a little more concerning. I don't see anything on debris. We'll check it real quick. So not yet. Loop it real quick. Nothing definitive. We would get it'd be very noticeable, I think, if we had debris, though we are a little bit farther from the radar site than you typically want to be when you're trying to look at stuff like this. New scan, this is closer more towards Highway 32 now versus Highway 171. Any rotation is going to be right here. You see this kind of C pattern right here? That's kind of showing the rain is being carried with the winds that are rotating. So you have your winds right here going from southwest to then switching to southeast. Then you have your winds coming into the storm right here from southeast to northwest, and then just completes that process. And the rotation will become really evident if we're going to see, anything develop here.
the severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for portions of Martin County, also going into sections of Terrell County as well. They've upgraded to include the tornado possible tag with it, and it's been extended until 7 p.m. So again, at least right now, in the immediate vicinities, there still is the potential for a possible tornado, but at least right now, we still have that severe thunderstorm warning continuing until 7 p.m.
And I think we're waiting. I know we got a new scan of kind of radar, but I don't think we've gotten the new scan of winds just yet. So hopefully that will come in just a few minutes. Maybe it has. That velocity not really lining up.
But the area of rotation that you're highlighting right now, Zach, that's right to the east of 171. The severe thunderstorm warning was issued, but they did put out, the National Weather Service did put out a tornado possible tag with it.
Yeah, I see that now. So watch where it is right here, just east of Highway 171. If I go to radar, see how it's not matching up very well? I don't know if we're not getting maybe some time difference between our radar scans, but that rotation should be further back over here to the east. What road is that? That'd be Long Ridge Road. So yeah, you would think the rotation would be a little bit closer to Long Ridge Road rather than back over 171. So we'll monitor that and see if maybe we're not getting our images to stack up just right, because this, based on what radar looks like, if this is the same time as what's on our radar, this doesn't look like that's where the rotation should be. It should be back over here towards the county line, a little bit closer to Long Ridge Road and Highway 32. So we'll keep our eye on that just to make sure we're not having any data issues. But yeah, you would think the radar and the winds would match up a little bit better than kind of what we're seeing. See how that dark red is well east now of Highway 171. So we'll see if they'll time it up a little bit better, if radar, or if we're having maybe some data issues. Any other part of the storm we need to keep an eye on, Russell?
As of right now, besides the area of rotation that's right over extreme northern sections of Beaufort, southern Martin County, there is still some extensive rotation, mainly over sections of Washington County right now. It seems like this entire line of showers and storms right now have some like weak areas of rotation, but also having some strong winds right now. And there still is not an update yet from the National Weather Service. They're just remaining cautious and at least issuing severe thunderstorm warnings with a tornado possible tag, or at least having the tornado warning that continues here over the next few minutes. But one of the areas of rotation eventually moving right over Creswell at 6:36 and then Columbia at 6:46. And then that secondary area of rotation, I'm going to put out a storm tracker on that one as well, just to give folks a heads up further down towards the south as well. Let me go ahead and clear this original storm tracker, and I'm going to put another one out here. That way I can keep folks in northern sections of Beaufort County also updated on this storm. This one, too, is moving east at about 40 miles per hour as well. So this is going to be moving basically over sparsely populated areas. If it holds together, it'll be moving over Pike Road there around 6:45, and then the Newlands area around 7:16. So looks like if I zoom in closer on the storm's circulation, just look at some of the roadways that are in the path of this here as of right now. Just to zoom in closer here, let's zoom in a little bit further in. And it looks like it's mainly open area. Looks like Baynard Road here, Barber number 1 road. So it looks like mainly farmland area here that is, the storm is pretty much over. Nothing significant as of right now.
I'm going to see if I can turn our Bellhaven camera around. I think it'll be blocked by trees. We have a better view over the water versus... So I'm going to let you take over, Russell, while I try to get this camera in position. But still think that area definitely needs to be watched.
But in terms of the current tornado warning we're having, I was looking
within
at
the
that
actual
storm
tornado warning, the
it's
threat,
looking very...
I can't rule it out, and we're going to keep watching it. And you need to be in your tornado safe spot if you are in that tornado warning. But that area southwest where they issued that new severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag, that's kind of where I think the threat may be a little bit higher.
Yep, I'm actually going to put a storm tracker out on the one with the stronger rotation right now, because it seems like the one that is still producing, at least still has a tornado warning, is obscured. It looks like a little obstructed at this point. The southern storm is beginning to become more intense as we get more and more radar scans here. And so this one here is moving eastward at about 40 miles per hour. And again, not really too many populations or at least towns in this part of the storm. But again, there's still a few communities. Pike Road there around 6:45 and then around 7:19. If it holds together, it'll be moving its way towards Kilkenny. But zooming in closer, again, it's mainly open-ended roads right now. If you know anyone traveling right there along Highway 32 in extreme northern Beaufort County, southern parts of Washington County, that's the only major road in the path of it as of right now. So again, strongest area of rotation beginning to exit extreme southeastern Martin County. It may briefly move in along the Beaufort County line there for a few minutes before making its way into northern sections or at least southern sections of Washington County. But again, this is a storm that means business, continuing to produce heavy rain, gusty breezes, and of course we continue to get small areas of rotation right along the main line there. But again, we still have no reports coming in yet from the National Weather Service as of right now. Even from Morehead City, not really saying much as of currently, although I will say around 6:13, one of the meteorologists at the Morehead City office did say that there are 3 separate areas, 3 couplets of rotation